No, 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 no. Stand by me. Stand by me. Thank you guys. It's great to be here. Spread love. Give up for Reese on guitar, yeah?
In a book I recently wrote, a book of poetry, one of the poems called Political Madness. Part of the lines is something like, governments will legislate for war and murder, yet they will not legislate for love. That is political madness. We will pass legislation to send troops overseas to kill people, but we will not legislate for people of same sex who are in love to be married, to have the same rights as the rest of us have. That is disgraceful. Anybody in this country should have the same rights as any other citizen. What are they frightened of? What is anybody frightened of? What is the problem here? It doesn't need to go to a referendum. The numbers are there. People will vote it through.
So we're here today because last week we got a new Prime Minister, and no matter what your politics, for me personally, there was this brief moment of hope for this campaign. Malcolm Turnbull for years has been talking about how he supports marriage equality. Years. So he took the top job, and I know that I certainly waited with bated breath for him to break free from the, you know, what Tony Abbott's been doing recently and say, hey, I'm not like a regular guy, I'm a cool guy, and I'm gonna make marriage equality happen. I really thought he was going to differentiate himself there. But on the first day he took the job, he immediately indicated that he is going to opt for a plebiscite, and he's going to delay the plebiscite until after the next election. Good boy. Yeah. Which is terrible. So we're here today to send Malcolm Turnbull a message that we have had enough of his talking about marriage equality, and we want action.
Our main challenge, I think, for families like mine is actually the discrimination that results from a government that deems our families and my parents not good enough. You know, we talk about the rights of children to a mother and a father, but what about my right to not have to turn on the TV every day or open a newspaper to hear my family denigrated and told that we might be damaged because of my parents' sexuality? You know, marriage equality doesn't just affect same-sex couples. This is an issue that is about families and generations of children. When I was growing up, it wasn't uncommon for people to make all sorts of judgments about me and my parents. I can't tell you how many times I was told that I was different, and usually with that unsubtle subtext that that difference was bad. People would ask me, or they still do, you know, do you miss out on having a father, or are you gay because your parents are, like that would be the end of the world?
I've got to say, growing up in Sydney, everyone has a story to tell. And for me, I clearly knew that I was 99% gay probably at 14, and it took me 23, 24 years to actually come out. And of course I apologise to the several girlfriends that I had in high school. But for me, the biggest thing that happened to me was I was studying law, and I was working at a law firm in Paddington, in Malcolm Turnbull's electorate. I'm not sure if we should boo or hip hip, so we'll just skip that for now. I was working in Paddington, and the principal lawyer that I was clerking for was a gay man, and he still is a gay man, and he's in a relatively very long term, and I'm pretty sure totally monogamous relationship with his partner. And it was the first time in my life at like 22 that I sort of saw it sort of became very normal to me, whereas growing up probably with friends and in the 90s in high school, it was certainly something very alien and scary and just terrible. And I think we all know that if and when marriage equality happens in this country, it's certainly not the only issue affecting all of our LGBTQI communities. But it's like what Macklemore says, you know, it's a bloody great place to start, and that symbolism and those sorts of things that will happen when marriage equality happens. You get all the beautiful moments of people marrying. It makes such a big difference, and unfortunately I think, given that the UK and the USA have done it, we've got all that imagery coming through, so kids are doing pretty well. But I've got to tell you what's going to be a really shit thing is a huge debate for the next 2 years for the kids in this country around whether or not we should have our rights. So again, let's do it for the Australian Parliament. Big boo for them right now. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, it really sucks. And Malcolm Turnbull knows what the right answer is, and he believes in the right answer, and he believes in marriage equality. So we've got to keep the pressure going to make sure that he can do what he's supposed to do and actually lead this nation.
Obviously this affects a lot more people than gays and lesbians. There are also bisexual and transgender people who are affected, a lot of whom want to marry the partner of their choice, quite obviously. Then there is the issue of forced divorce for transgender people who would like to change their gender marker on their birth certificates. That is horrible, to put it frankly. To change your gender marker, if you're already married, you have to get divorced under the current laws, and that's a travesty. And finally, and probably most importantly for me, is that under the current marriage law, man and a woman completely excludes all sorts of non-binary people, which make up a relatively large but unheard sector of our community. Non-binary people, if you don't know one, you've met them, you just don't know they're non-binary. And for those people to get married to someone they love without having to declare themselves as a man or a woman is incredibly important, not only for their marriage ceremony, but for their gender identity.
And the Liberal Party, as we know, has had a bit of a makeover. We've got a new person installed now, the so-called quote-unquote gay-friendly Malcolm Turnbull, who on the very first day of being in office as Prime Minister decided to absolutely rort us, give us the same dirty deal that Tony Abbott promised us, a plebiscite perhaps, we don't know in what form, after the election, i.e. after promising your vote over to the Liberal Party. Is that what we have to do to get marriage equality? I don't think so. Like, this demand is overdue to us, right? Like, we've been demanding it for a long time. It's now overdue. Like, this debt should have been paid years ago. This issue has had many chances to be righted, and yet the politicians of both the Labor Party and the Liberal Party are still playing games with us, basically, giving us half-assed promises about what they might do if we please give them our votes again. Well, no way. Our demand is the same as it's always been: marriage equality now.
So firstly, I'd just like to say I'm a gaby as well, and so I'd like to pay my respect to Maya, because I grew up in a household with a single mum who came out quite late in life. So she came out about 5 years before I did. I went to my mum and said, "Mum, I think I like boys." And she said, "That's good, dear, one of us should." So I was pretty lucky in my coming out process, and the marriage equality debate, to be honest, for me has always been something I care about from a distance. Then recently things have changed. I was living in Brisbane until February, so that's why I'm so fucking cold right now. And as I started to look at new job opportunities, as always happens, I got a job offer in Sydney and I fell in love. Aww. So in true form, we spent 3 months saying, "Oh, this is stupid, we shouldn't move to the same city, we've just met, blah 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 blah." He's not here tonight because he's at work, so I can talk about him pretty openly. But I met this crazy goon that made me laugh. I met this crazy guy who was willing to throw caution to the wind and move to Sydney. And just last week we moved in down the road into Malcolm Turnbull's electorate. And a few things have happened. We've met each other's families. We've bought furniture together. And last weekend we took a huge risk. We went to IKEA. And we're still standing. I was asked to talk today as someone who wanted to get married, and it's something that's only just entered into my head. We've been together 9 months, I'm not going to move that quickly. But what I do know is my relationship with Tyson is something that means the world to me. I don't know what shape it's going to take. I don't know whether one day I'm going to want to get down on bended knees and propose to him. I'll have to do it because he's bloody useless. It'll have to be me. But I do know I don't want the government legislating about the type of relationship that I can have. I don't want the government telling me that I can't choose to marry in whatever way I choose the person that I love. And I don't want the government telling me that my relationship isn't good enough. I've seen that. I felt that. I felt that in my childhood when someone would say, "So does your mum have a husband?" And I'd have to say, "Oh no, she's just got a friend who just comes over sometimes." And I don't want that for our kids. I don't want that for my relationship, and I don't want that for my life. And I don't want the rest of the country to determine who I can marry. At the end of the day, it's up to me. Our relationships are our relationships. Our marriages are our marriages. And the way we choose to negotiate our love and express it is up to us. Marriage equality is about just that, equality, and the ability to love how we need to love. That's about all from me. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Dan.